listening to the Digitally Irresistible podcast, where we cover the optimization of digital technologies and irresistible people. Brought to you by iQor. Each episode features someone who sheds a little more light on the ins and outs of delivering a great employee and customer experience that has a measurable impact on the business. And now, here's today's guest. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Digitally Irresistible podcast. I'm your host, Bernie Borges. Today's guest is Gail McLaughlin Toti. Gail, welcome.
Hi, Bernie. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to diving into our conversation because, Gail, you have a special vision and you have achieved that vision because of your tenure in the BPO industry. You're able, when you talk to customers, you're able to see what their needs are, both short term and long term. And that's a special vision. So I'm really excited to discuss with you how you got there. So before we do that, though, let's begin with, as where I like to begin, with a brief introduction to your background and your role at iQor.
Sure, certainly, Bernie. So I have been at iQor. It will be 11 years next month. I started as Vice President of Business Development. I've been in the call center industry for 25, 26 years. Started on what I would say was the technology side of the house in IVR and eventually speech technology. So I pretty much know the call center industry from both sides of the house.
So with that background, Gail, I'm sure you've seen a lot of change. And so I'd like to ask you, maybe speak to what you've seen, how you've seen the BPO industry evolve over those 25 plus years, and how that's actually enabled you to create that vision that I spoke of.
Sure. So there certainly has been a lot of change. I mean, over the years, we have gone and morphed from a company that was certainly just voice, and in certain areas, just services and solutions, collections, into a company that services a wide variety of partners in a wide variety of verticals. And we do that across not just voice, but we also bring in digital channels. It's a tremendous change, and we've seen those changes specifically the last few years, where we're combining not just the human touch of voice, but we're also consulting with our clients and seeing how we can bring in that digital channel to enhance their customer experience. So we come at it from a little bit different perspective, and certainly the change has been dramatic the last few years.
Yeah. How has the customer evolved? You know, those conversations that you had, say, 25 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago to now, how has the customer changed?
Well, every customer is different and every vertical is different. Obviously you have some very quick adapters that want to go to market with the latest technology, and you really look at that client and go in there to that partner and say, what can we bring to the table that will enhance your customer experience? And then you have other partners that are slower adapters, and you have to go at a slower pace and really look to see what will enhance their customer experience and yet not push them over the edge too fast because they're not ready to go there. And so you really have to know your partner and not only know your partner, but know their brand and
Right.
know where they're going to market. That's extremely important.
Yeah, and you take a consultative approach in your selling, and of course, with your tenure in the industry, you've been able to really be a consultant, be a valuable resource to your customers. Maybe you can explain a little bit more and go into a little bit more detail on what does that actually look like. You know, I mentioned earlier you've got this vision. How do you get to actually see or understand what a customer's needs are?
I like to know my partner's DNA. I like to understand, what they want to do today, but more importantly, where they see themselves going in the future. Whether it's a client that might be, 45 agents And we might be able to grow that client to 400, or if it's a client that might be 100 agents and stay at the 100, it's still important to understand the branding and where they want to be 2 years from now, not just today. And so I really like to go in and understand the whole picture, not just their needs today.
So I would imagine that that happens across multiple conversations and maybe across multiple stakeholders within an account. What does that look like?
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, to give you an example, we started with a partner 2.5 years ago. We went through an RFP process. The RFP went out to numerous different vendors, and there were several business partners involved in that. We happened to win the RFP. We rolled out 45 FTE, and today, steady state, we have approximately 900, and in season when we ramp for them, we have about 1,400. And the way that we got there is really through a team effort at looking at how we could create opportunity, not just for iQor, but also for our partner with their customers. How could we take the services and solutions that we offer, for instance, utilizing our speech analytics product, and how could we put that in place and save some of their customers, save some of their renewals, save them money, across the board. And so I think we kind of roll up our sleeves and go at it from a roundtable perspective, which is a little bit different than taking a hard approach in sales and, selling a one off and just moving on.
Yeah. I want to come back to something you said a moment ago, Gail. You said in this example, maybe help them save some of their customers. How much of that is coming into the conversation, in terms of just providing care and support versus retaining customers versus even producing new revenue? How much, how does that whole mix actually play out?
Well, we're always looking to see, how can we do better for our partners, customers? Can we enhance their revenue? What tools do we have in our toolbox? And certainly, I listened to the first podcast with PJ Singh. PJ and I have, worked together for many years, and we work closely together, to really understand what it is that we can offer and what we're doing across the board, for other partners that we can offer to this partner, and where will it be able to enhance the offering? So I think that that's important. It's a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Gail, you've been in the industry, as we've discussed here, more than 25 years. Where do you see it going? I'm not going to ask you to predict 25 years worth of a crystal ball, but where do you see things evolving in the industry?
Well, I think, as the industry moves on, and I think it's in iQor's DNA to move on with it, is, the human voice will still be an intricate part of that in the centers. But I think that also we will look to see, which of the digital channels best enhances our customers and our partners, applications and services. Is it chat? Is it speech analytics? Which one or how many do we add to the human voice? And so I think that's today what we really take a look at. And how do we expand those services and solutions along that way, and certainly in the digital channel?
Yeah. So more digital solutions. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Terrific. Well, Gail, you know that I've got one last question for you, and that
Sure,
is,
Bernie.
when you're not working, Gail, what do you like to do for fun?
Well, there's certainly my family. I have a beautiful family, but most recently I've been training for the Pan Mass Challenge, which is a cycling event here in New England, which is in a couple of weeks, and all the proceeds go to Dana Farber. And I'm happy to say that, that really aligns with the iCore values, which, the iCore Cares program, which we've rolled out internally, and which is a great program which gives back both for our internal family, but our external areas as well. So happy to be a part of that and excited. I'll let you know how I do in a couple of weeks, Bernie.
Yes. Yes. Please do. Please do.
Yeah, I still think I'm 25, Bernie. So
It's all that matters. It's,
it's all that
mind over
matters,
matter,
right?
right?
It's all that athlete mentality, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, that's commendable. That's really commendable. Thank you for sharing that, Gail. And I wish you success and enjoy the event. And I hope it's very successful for you.
Thanks so much, Bernie, and thanks for having me be a part of your digitally irresistible
Well,
program.
you were irresistible. Thank you so much, Gail, for joining me on this episode of the Digitally Irresistible podcast.
Thanks, Bernie. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Digitally Irresistible podcast, where we cover the optimization of digital technologies and irresistible people, delivering a great employee and customer experience that has a measurable impact on the business. Brought to you by iQor. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast player so you don't miss future episodes.